Welcome to the New American Magazine's coverage of RIO+20. That's the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development in Rio de Janeiro, otherwise known as the Earth Summit. We're covering that this week. We have our correspondent Alex Newman down in Rio, along with a camera crew, and we are providing coverage and interviews from there. And today on my program, I have the pleasure of having Art Thompson, the CEO of the John Birch Society, with us. Art, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I was down in Rio de Janeiro at the first Earth Summit 20 years ago, 1992, covering it for the New American Magazine, and we covered that summit and many other environmental issues, including their relationship to the United Nations for many years. The John Birch Society has been working on that for many years, even before the Earth Summit. But now in the past couple of years, the Society has been particularly active in opposing one of the main programs that came out of that first Earth Summit that has become very controversial. It's Agenda 21.
Yes, we have.
And this is the copy, the official copy as it was printed in 1993, several months after the summit. When I brought it home from the Earth Summit, it was about 3 times that thickness. And they've condensed it down in print size. But Agenda 21, which stands for Agenda for the 21st Century, Environmental Agenda, is now a big topic. And what is the John Birch Society doing in that regard?
Well, we're doing a lot of things. As you mentioned, the New American, which is an adjunct of the Society, has been covering this issue for quite a number of years. Many of our members have been active in the environmental movement from the standpoint of trying to warn people that there's an agenda within the environmental movement. I want to make one thing clear, that we're not opposed to clean air and clean water. But that's an individual thing, and it involves property rights and a number of other freedoms that we have that can be destroyed if we misuse this environmental movement. And that's exactly what's going on with the United Nations. They mean to use this as a means of controlling what we do, the cars we drive, where we live, how much food we consume, how many children we have, any number of different things. But at first it was hard to sell people on this thing. In other words, it was so draconian, no one believed that it would ever occur. Well, now it's progressed far enough that we can show definitely, see, this is the problem, this is the problem. Here it is in your own local community. This is how you can prove that. So we've thrown the weight of organization behind the work that our members were already doing over the years and what the magazine was doing in the way of information. Now we're putting action into it. So we've come out, for instance, with a new video called Agenda 21, How Will It Affect You? We just posted that online on YouTube. We are sending people out across the country to speak on this issue. For instance, a good friend, Tom DeWeese, we've put him into, I don't know, many, many cities. And there are other members doing this as well. Our members in local areas are gathering folks in their neighborhoods, in their towns, bringing them together and showing them the dangers of Agenda 21 and then saying, we have to do something. And as a result of that, where they're organizing in these communities, they're actually getting them, the communities themselves, the cities, the counties, to withdraw from an organization called ICLEI, which is adopting Agenda 21. Now, this by no means is not the end of the fight in a local community. They have to continue on to see that they're not implementing the program, even though they may not belong to an organization with direct ties to the United Nations. So those are just some of the things that we're doing. But when you put organization behind it, when you get a number of people all over the country doing the same thing at the same time, using the same intellectual arguments and everything else, it creates a synergy. It creates a public awareness that wasn't there before. As a result, we're getting attacked in a lot of newspapers, the Huffington Post, CNN Online, a number of places like that, saying it's those dirty, rotten Birchers that are creating all this problem. Well, it isn't just us. It's a lot of concerned citizens.
Right now, in the last year or so, this has become especially a hot topic in cities and counties and states as various implementations of this, sometimes called Vision 21 or Idaho for the 21st century or Montana for sustainable development, various programs.
Sure.
How is it actually impacting people now that has caused this this new concern?
Well, they're beginning to wake up to the fact that they can lose their rights. That's mainly what's been going on, is that they suddenly realize that, wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to do with my property and my business what I want to do. In other words, Agenda 21 comes in and says that we are going to just take control over all space that has no buildings on it or anything else. It could be my backyard if it's big enough. So this is what's impacting people. For instance, probably the most famous instance where this has happened was in Costa Mesa in Northern California, where they had a public meeting and the local folks came in and they started talking about open space and the fact that they were going to start planning what could be done with this open space. Well, the questioner from the audience said, well, what are you talking about? Are you talking about government open space or private open space where people have private property? And the answer was both. Well, as the meeting progressed, they began to realize, well, wait a minute, you're saying that you are going to control what I do with my property. And that is one of the things that's really stirring people up. Another one is the use of water. The farmers are beginning to find out that, wait a minute, through environmental laws, they can no longer irrigate their fields. This has happened in, like, say, Klamath Falls, Oregon, and other places. I can't irrigate my fields, I can't water my crops, I can't make the grass grow to feed my cattle. That impacts me, but it not only impacts me as a rancher, it impacts you to be able to go down to your grocery store and buy beef. The price of beef goes up because there's less beef, or it's imported from Canada, Mexico, and Argentina, or wherever it may be, but that's fine. I can still have my meat and potatoes at dinner, but it's no longer employing Americans. It's making us dependent on other people.
And it's making that food supply chain very vulnerable.
That's right.
And it isn't just cattle, but carrots, peas, watermelons,
Absolutely.
apples, everything else.
Strawberries, you name it. Yeah.
So that's a very big issue, and the Agenda 21 coming out of the new RIO+20 is going to be, they hope, the activists and the delegates in Rio de Janeiro hope to move it forward several more incremental steps. So this is going to be an ongoing battle, and Agenda 21 is just one of several of the major issues that we're going to be covering there down at the Earth Summit. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Keep up the good work.
Well, we will.